everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nat Chat. This week we are really excited because we've all just come back from Cisco Live 2022, and today we have Craig Manyweather and Joachim Mason on Nat Chat. So hi guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
And it's fantastic to see that Cisco Live is now up and running and back in person. A long time coming really, and I think it's just brilliant to see everybody reconnecting. I'm sure that Cisco was so excited to actually get to Vegas this time around and have everyone in one room.
I think I was watching the content, and I lost count of the number of times the speaker would open with how super excited they were actually to be back in person. So there was certainly that excitement in the room. But yeah, no, the feedback overwhelmingly, from participants and everyone who was there was, look, it was just great to be in person, and all of those sorts of conversations and questions and different things that you can do when it's not, just looking and talking through a screen. It was long awaited and much enjoyed by those who were there.
Yeah, I do think that the past couple of years, if it's taught us anything though, it's how to execute a good hybrid event. So, obviously I logged in from the UK and watched the live stream, and it really just show you how inclusive you can be with the power of hybrid.
Yeah, and Haley, I think it was also good to see some Natilic people out at Cisco Live. So we had some engineers on the ground, soaking up the sessions, getting involved in the technical discussion. And also Matthias, our tech director for DC and Cloud, was up on stage with HashiCorp. I believe he was presenting on self-service, automation, and ACI. So great to see. And we also held a couple of workshops all around Kubernetes. So yeah, just really, for the engineering community at Natilic and for our clients, just great to be back in person and getting a chance to speak to peers, present, and hear what's happening from Cisco.
Yeah, exactly. It is really that mix of like the workshop hands-on and then hearing all the announcements. And then obviously there is the social element and the party side to it too, which is always seems to be good fun.
But no interest in that whatsoever, Haley. I don't know what you're talking about.
Definitely not.
I should point out actually, because I think they confirmed it. Notwithstanding anything else happening, but that Cisco Live Europe would take place in Amsterdam in February. So hopefully that gives us more of us a chance to be there in person. Customers from UK, Europe, etc. So we can mark that date. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but they're in early February, so we can bear that in mind.
No, definitely. I think I might have to take a couple of reconnaissance trips beforehand.
Good thinking. I like that. Yeah.
One thing which I noticed watching the live stream, actually, it came across in the keynotes and a couple of the sessions as well, was this repeated phrase about unified network experience. And being completely honest, when I first heard it, I was a bit like, is this a new marketing kind of buzz term? But as the sessions went along, it really kind of opened up into what Cisco's new message is.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was how the whole kind of, if you like, the main part of the keynote from Chuck, from G2, and obviously with Todd as well, really, framing. A big and important word throughout the whole thing, and for us in general, is experience. And what do we mean in terms of delivering the best possible experience in whatever forum or technology domain that we were talking about, but ultimately, our customers have been telling us, very vocally in terms of that need to not necessarily compromise on the power of what the technology can do, but certainly simplifying the experience of using it and simplifying how you get as much out of it as you possibly can. And bringing different parts of things together as well. If you think, technology tends to be designed for, specific areas, with that capability or environment in mind, which is great. But in this world where there's so much complexity and everything is so dynamic and fast moving, we've got to find ways of bringing those things together. And there was some key announcements that were made, which were all about bringing different parts of Cisco's portfolio together, simplifying the experience, but also making sure that, as you say, that kind of underlying depth and capability aren't compromised. And that was really the whole framing of it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of network managers who are going to be very pleased with some of the announcements which came out, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big one, obvious one, was around cloud management for Catalyst, using the Meraki dashboard. I don't know if you watched it, Todd, but I thought he was about to explode at one point with excitement around he was finally getting to announce this thing that that we know there's been a lot of pent up demand for, and that the teams have been working really hard in terms of getting to the point where we were publicly able to kind of confirm that this is where we're going, and this is what's available in terms of the the monitoring, if you like, of the Catalyst platform through the Meraki dashboard. So we know that many customers, whether it's through shift to cloud or just that whole kind of simplified cloud managed experience that they're looking for, really value that from Meraki, but they also value that depth and power and richness that you get from within the Catalyst platform. I think I remember the slide. It was kind of number one in networking, number one in cloud managed networking across both. So the ability to bring that together, as you say, it will be kind of music to the ears of many network managers. They want to see more, right? This is a statement of intent, and there's some stuff which is available today, and more will be developed as we go forward. But it was really, yeah, it was an important moment and exciting to kind of see the company announce that.
Yeah, and a few weeks back we had an engineering get together at Natilic, and in the enterprise networking space, it was the number one topic. So yeah, the engineers are interested. We're really keen to get our hands on this and start testing it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how our clients take that on board. But I think it's a great announcement and something they've been asking for, as you said. So
yeah,
have that option, that flexibility, and that's going to be good to have that choice for our clients. And also, remembering that the investment in DNA Center, the investment in Meraki is not going away. It just gives us another option when we look at solutions for our clients.
Well, I think that's key. I mean, and on the one hand, yes, you want simplicity, but you don't want that, where you've completely compromised on depth of capability or even that flexibility and choice. We see many, well, you'll know this. I mean, we see so many customers where they make the choices that are right for them. And sometimes that can be across both platforms, if I can describe it like that. But then in other areas, it just actually totally makes sense to completely converge. So again, that part of the announcement was converging on Catalyst as the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, which makes an awful lot of sense from that perspective as well. So, but as you say, we're excited because we've been able to make that announcement and kind of share that publicly, but also the statement of intent from the organisation. It's pretty clear the direction of travel that we're taking. Encapsulating all of those kind of characteristics, really.
Yeah. Another thing which kind of stood out for me actually when I was watching the different sessions was how regularly Thousand Eyes popped up. So it wasn't just in their lane as such. It was coming up in with the WebEx Control Hub and the SD-WAN circles. It was quite nice to see. Obviously, Cisco acquired Thousand Eyes a couple of years ago. I remember Cisco Live 2 years back possibly. And we all sat there with a little bit of anticipation to see how it was going to be embedded into the portfolio. So it's quite nice to see the insights actually coming through across different areas of the technology as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I noticed the same thing. That it's not been boxed in, if you like, if you can use that phrase. And look, when you make an acquisition or an investment, there are different routes that you can take and paths that you can take, but we've been very deliberate from day one with Thousand Eyes in sort of acknowledging that actually when you think about all of the things that that go to make up an end user experience, right? Going back to the word experience, and particularly so over the last 2 years, right? You know, with how we've all had to work, and ultimately what that means in terms of our experience. Then there's so many different touch points, and there's such complexity in the environment, multi-cloud environment, different networks, the internet itself. You know, we've all come to rely on it more, but it was never really built as a business class kind of network. So how can you treat that, or at least provide eyes on and visibility in a way that perhaps you didn't before? So that's the sort of core and crux of Thousand Eyes. But then, okay, yeah, so we've if you think about it in terms of, you know, that experience of an end user using an application or a SaaS application, maybe Office 365 or WebEx or some, you know, something similar, then being able to actually get really granular as to, you know, being able to tell if a user's sitting close enough to their router, or, you know, there's something going on in terms of the configuration of their device that's actually impacting their ability, you know, and therefore their satisfaction or the quality of their experience. That's a really powerful thing. And you're right, you know, we've you know, in the same way that we can look at other third-party SaaS services, we've actually plugged it right in the middle of WebEx. Why would we not? To almost offer that service assurance, right at the very heart. So that's one of the examples that you mentioned. The other one was actually then this combination of Thousand Eyes technology with the work that we've been doing around Cisco predictive networks and predictive analytics, and taking elements of both. So that actually what happens is Thousand Eyes starts to, or Thousand Eyes WAN Insights, for example. So this is available through SD-WAN, which is becoming increasingly relevant and pertinent, particularly here in the UK and Ireland, as it starts to, you know, in the first 24 hours, it's starting to learn and see and look at network paths and all that stuff that's way too clever for someone like me, but it starts to learn straight away. And based on all of that, and based on some of this predictive analytics stuff, that, you know, can start to spot problems before they arise. And the minute you can stop problems before they arise, and before you get a bunch of end users who are all reliant on a particular service or an application or both, you know, not being able to work or being completely dissatisfied because, you know, because their experience is not what it needs to be. Again, you know, that's a big plus for the business. That's the big plus for what IT ultimately are trying to deliver to their customer base. And that's just two examples. I mean, Thousand Eyes have got probably in the region of 20 or 30 different use cases for where you might apply their capabilities. So yeah, it's been great to see that investment in the integration. There's been a lot of work that's been going on over the course of the last couple of years, and you can see the manifestation of that, you know, with some of the announcements at Cisco Live.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. And, you know, Craig, I know that you've had a couple of conversations with clients recently about different use cases with Thousand Eyes. So hopefully this will only strengthen really the competitive nature of, you know, Cisco solutions in the market. Yeah,
I think it's really timely because we're welcoming our people back to the office. Clients are coming back in, our partners, and a lot of the discussions we've been having around the challenges of adapting to this, this hybrid work and environment. And SD-WAN is top of mind. So how do we connect our people and our offices to the application and resources that we need, and also as well, the collaboration tools we've come to know and love over the last couple of years are still very relevant and important in a hybrid working environment. So having the tools like these Thousand Eyes integrations to get to what is the root cause of any problems we're seeing, and being able to empower network teams, application teams, end user teams to understand where in the chain things are breaking down, and that's only a good thing, and can help out our clients focus on what's important as they adapt to this hybrid work. But on the topic of hybrid work, I think it was also good to see some announcements about SASE or server, the edge solutions from Cisco. I know there's a lot of definitions of what that can be, but there was some key announcements around Cisco Plus Secure Connect, which I know is one of the offerings from Cisco. So, yeah, Joachim, what do you think about what's happening in that space? I know our clients again, they like to talk about this because there's, they're on a, many of them are somewhere in their journey to hybrid cloud, and with the challenges of a distributed workforce, then SASE solutions bridge that gap between people and applications. So, what do you think about the announcements
well, I was really excited. We've been focused on SASE. We've built a new team actually here in the UK and Ireland around SASE, because we just we can just see that, as you said, there's been such a hot topic around hybrid work. So many organizations are thinking about having to think about that, where the workspace can be anywhere. So how do you incorporate that from what we were used to before? And of course, hybrid cloud as well. The application is such an important element of competitive differentiation around innovation for organizations, and there's a whole host of complexities, as we know, sit underneath that. But the thing that links it, securely, is the network. So SASE is that, convergence of security and network. I think it was G2 said you can't be in the connectivity business without being in the protection business, which I quite liked. And there are different manifestations of it. There's different, as you see, customers are at different stages and have a different appetite for what they want to do next. And again, Cisco are looking at having, offering the flexibility of choice as to what customers would do next. But again, also addressing this mission around simplicity, making sure that we're bringing things together in the best possible way with the right kind of consumption models. So that was exactly what was announced around Cisco Plus Secure Connect Now, which is sort of Meraki SD-WAN, but other elements from a cloud security, so Duo, Umbrella, etc. And packaging that up in a way that's easy to access, easy to consume, and targeted at customers who are ready to go down that. We talk about SASE your way, and I was just about to use that word journey, and I could see that people would probably start grimacing. But it is, it's a phased approach, and that's definitely another way that from a technology standpoint, Cisco can help, and obviously in partnership with the likes of yourselves.
No, definitely. I think you're right. Sometimes there's words like journey where you hear it repeated so many times, you're just like, oh, not again. But actually it is a complete, everybody comes at it at different stages, and but at the end of the day, everyone kind of wants to achieve the same outcomes. It is the connectivity, is the security about it as well. So
it was interesting actually. I was in a thing sort of last week where we probably had about 25 or 30 customers gathered, and there are multiple different ways you can approach something like SASE. It's not like you just go pick a SASE off a shelf and there you are the next day, you've done it. And we asked the question in the room, how many are there with SASE, and not a single hand went up, which tells you where organizations are in their journey, but also tells you the importance of us being there collectively to help them on the next phases. So again, that was another, that was what was also exciting to see that announced at Cisco Live.
Brilliant. Right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Just a little snapshot for our listeners on a couple of key things which we've taken out from the week. And like you say, Joachim, there will also be Cisco Live in Melbourne and in Amsterdam in February, where hopefully we will see the next iterations and see where things are going from there. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to look any more, there's some great blog posts and press releases on the Cisco News website. Or if you want to just get in contact with us at natilic.com, and we'll be happy to talk you through them. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayley.